Introduction to Classical Tibetan, Lesson 6-4. By this point, you've been introduced to most of the new material that you're going to learn in this course, so let's take some time to review a bit. The source particles, ne and le, show the origin of something in terms of a place or time, or indicate a quotation from a text. They can also be used to indicate comparisons between two things. Occasionally, the source particles can also be used to indicate the instrument or reason for something that is done. Interrogative pronouns are usually placed right before the verb. The four main interrogative pronouns are gang, chi, ji, and su. These pronouns can be associated with different case particles to play different roles within a given sentence. Sometimes the interrogative pronouns are found along with relative clauses. In these cases, they are understood as relative pronouns and do not indicate questions. But this is a grammatical structure that was adapted from Sanskrit and can be difficult for some beginners to grasp. This will get easier with practice, though. Now, relative pronouns do not need to occur along with these relative clauses. So, bracketing that for now, let's talk about relative clauses. Relative clauses can function like adjectives. They modify nouns in a sentence. They can easily be identified by a verb in its infinitive form. Relative clauses always end with an infinitive verb. Now, like adjectives, relative clauses either come directly after the noun or nominal group that they modify, or right before, joined by a connective particle. When a relative clause joins together with a noun or a nominal group, it forms an inseparable unit within that sentence. This is especially important to keep in mind when tackling long and complex sentences. Let's look at a few examples of sentences with relative clauses. Semchen ki dun sepe sange la chupapulo. Now, looking at the end of the sentence, we find the final verb chupapul, make offerings. To the left of that, we have a ladin particle showing to whom or to what one makes offerings. To the left of that, we have Sangye, the Buddha. One makes offerings to the Buddha. This is joined to a verb in its infinitive form by a connective particle. So we know that this is a relative clause modifying Sangye. So what is this relative clause? Again, start with the verb, dun sepa, to accomplish the benefit. This is joined with the connective particle, to semchen, sentient beings. So the entire relative clause and the noun that it modifies is a Buddha who accomplishes the benefit of sentient beings. So if we take that all together and read the whole sentence, we say, 1, inferred because there's no subject explicitly stated, makes offerings. 2, the Buddha who accomplishes the benefit of all sentient beings. Notice here that this entire thing is the object that one makes offerings to. Okay, let's try another one. Sangye semchenki dunze bala chupapulo. Now this sentence looks pretty similar to the one that we've just translated. Someone makes offerings to, and then we have a verb in its infinitive form, indicating a relative clause. So this is a relative clause modifying some noun that we haven't identified yet. Now if we keep working from right to left, again we find semchengi dunzepa, accomplish the benefit of sentient beings. So one makes offerings to something or someone who accomplishes the benefit of sentient beings. And once again we find here Sangye, the Buddha. So this sentence also reads, one makes offerings to the Buddha who accomplishes the benefit of sentient beings. Notice that the difference between this sentence and the previous sentence is just the order in which the noun and its relative clause occur. Just like with nouns and adjectives, nouns and relative clauses can occur in different orders, but both have the same meaning. Okay, if that makes sense, let's try another one, a little bit longer. Yagar ne shekpe lame Sangye ki tempe chu chedo. So first we have the final verb, che, explained. To the left of that we have chu, dharma. So someone explained the dharma. Now immediately to the left of that we find an infinitive verb, tempa, connected to chu by a connective particle. So we know that this is a relative clause here, and because of the connective particle, we know that it's modifying chu, dharma. So the dharma which was taught. To the left of that, we have an agentive particle connecting this to sangye. So the whole clause together is the dharma that was taught by the Buddha. Feel free to pause this video at any point if this is going too fast. Putting this together with the final verb, someone explained the dharma that was taught by the Buddha. Immediately to the left of sangye, we have lama with an agentive particle. Now, since this doesn't fit with the clause that we've just deciphered, because we already found an agent for that clause, we know that this must be the main agent of the sentence going along with the final verb. So, the teacher explained the dharma that was taught by the Buddha. Now, immediately to the left of all of that, we find yet another infinitive verb joined by a connective particle. So we know that this is another relative clause modifying lama. Shekpa means to go or to come. To the left of that, we have a source particle. So we know that the teacher came from somewhere. Now, where did the teacher come from? Gyakarne, from India. So this relative clause is the Lama who came from India. Altogether, we can translate this sentence as the Lama who came from India explained the Dharma which was taught by the Buddha. Notice that once we have the relative clauses figured out, they constitute indivisible units within the sentence. Now, even though this is a long sentence, its structure follows the basic subject, instrumental particle, object, transitive verb structure. So there's nothing complex about the structure of this sentence. It's just that the individual elements are longer than single words. Okay, let's try one more. Dawa dangpo ne, dawa yepe bardu, samla shukpe neljorpe, kunchu sumla chupapulo. Okay, let's again start with the final verb, chupapul, make offerings. To the left of that we have a ladun, so make offerings to what? Kuncho sumla, to the 3 jewels. To the left of that we have neljorpa with the agentive particle. So this is the subject of this sentence. The yogin makes offerings to the 3 jewels. To the left of neljorpa we have an infinitive verb joined by a connective particle. So we know that this is a relative clause modifying the yogin. Shukpa, stay. Stay where? In the retreat, samla. The yogin who stays in the retreat. Okay, and to the left of that we find another Lajan particle occurring in the construction bardu, meaning until. Dawa gepe bardu means until the 8th month. Now, to the left of that we have the source particle ne, and to the left of that dawa dangpo, the 1st month. So putting this relative phrase together we have the yogin who stays in the retreat from the 1st month until the 8th month. The yogin who stays in the retreat from the 1st month until the 8th month. This is the entire subject of the sentence. Now this yogin makes offerings to the 3 jewels. Okay, so again, all together this is the yogin who stays in the retreat from the 1st month until the 8th month makes offerings to the 3 jewels. Once again, this long sentence follows the basic structure of a sentence with a transitive verb. Subject, marked by an instrumental particle, object, and verb. Once you can identify relative clauses and understand how the different building blocks of a sentence come together to form a sentence, you'll see that every sentence in Tibetan follows one of the basic structures that we've been over so far in the class. Now, as always, as you work through the homework exercises, please feel free to post on the discussion board and ask questions if you get stuck.